Posted by you/TomMomSister343242. I am upset with my mom and sister because of something my mother said, but everyone around me feels I am overreacting. Please be brutally honest in telling me if I am being insecure or if my mom and husband are in the wrong here. Let me give you a bit of backstory. My husband, James, 34M, and I, 29F, were neighbors growing up. My sister, Fran, 34F, was in the same grade as my husband. Everyone knew Fran in school because she was very smart and beautiful. James had a huge crush on her, and all of us knew about it. He asked her to senior prom, but Fran shot him down in front of the whole school. They still remained friends, though, and he moved to a different state for college. We didn't hear much from him except when he came back for holidays. James and I were never friends growing up, since I was in middle school at the time, much younger than both of them, and they would actively avoid involving me in their hangouts and activities. I went to a good college and got my first job in the same city as James. My mom suggested I contact him since I didn't know anyone there. We became friends, and 3 years later, we got married. We both have high-paying jobs and love our life together. We moved back to our hometown during COVID as James's mom had health issues, and our jobs allowed us to work remotely. Fran also had a pretty good life. She married when she was 23, and her husband was well off. 2 years ago, Fran discovered he had been cheating on her for almost their entire marriage, with multiple partners, so she decided to break things off. Fran moved back in with my mom. She hadn't worked during her marriage and was expecting significant alimony from the divorce. However, due to complications with the prenup, she barely got anything and is struggling financially. She got a job but can barely afford her own place, so she continues living with my mom. James and I were very supportive of her during the whole process. Since James and Fran were friends growing up, they have a special bond. They share inside jokes and stories, and I sometimes feel like a third wheel when we all meet. However, James keeps his distance and has never given me any reason to believe he has lingering feelings for her. Fran, on the other hand, visits us frequently, like 2 to 3 times a week, often staying for dinner and sleeping in our guest room. I don't mind her coming over, but I don't like that she talks more to James than to me. She also always comes over when I'm not home, and I often find them sitting next to each other on the sofa watching TV when I get back. It reminds me of childhood, where I was left out of the basement when Fran had friends over, and I'd feel excluded. Fran is also too comfortable around James, walking around the house in just a towel after her shower or sleeping in her undergarments in the guest room without locking the door. I voiced my concerns to her, but she said we're family, so she doesn't care. I also raised this with James, and he now tries to explain stories and inside jokes if Fran brings them up. The main issue happened this weekend. I was hanging out with my mom and Fran was recalling stories about how James used to do her homework and chores for her. She said, "He was so in love with me, and I felt guilty taking advantage of him." My mom jokingly responded, "I wish you'd had the sense to marry James instead of your loser husband, you wouldn't be in this situation." Fran smiled and nodded, but I was hurt by the comment. I protested to my mom, saying James is my husband, and I don't want her making such comments about him. My mom doubled down, saying she only feels that way because both James and I are high earners, while Fran is struggling. So, it would make sense if Fran had married James, and I'd be fine since I don't need James to support me financially. She insisted it was hypothetical and just wants both her daughters to be happy. I didn't like those comments and told them not to speak that way about James and my marriage. Fran chimed in, telling me not to take it personally and that I was being too sensitive. I ended up arguing with both of them and left. When I came home and told James, he also sided with my mom and Fran, saying my mom just made a harmless joke. I also brought up Fran's behavior around the house, and he told me this was between me and my sister and that he wouldn't tell Fran what she can or can't wear in our home. Despite everyone apologizing to me, I'm left feeling really hurt. Am I wrong for reacting the way I did, or does everyone else have a point? Should I be more secure in my relationship with James? Update 6 days later. Thanks, everyone, for all your support on my previous post. Sorry for the long post, but a lot of you were messaging me for an update, so I wanted to share what happened. The comments really made me paranoid, and I did see everyone's point that James might have just married me because of his crush on Fran. This really spiked my anxiety, and I started snooping around. My husband literally makes me check his phone for new messages when he's not around, so I knew there was nothing to hide there. However, I was unsettled by how my sister always knows when I'm not at home and by how James and Fran are often sitting on the same couch when I come home. I tried talking to my husband, and he told me that my feelings were valid. However, he also said that Fran is going through a tough time and refused to say anything bad about my mom or Fran. Last Friday, I went to the gym as usual in the evening, and when I came home, Fran was sitting in the living room while James was cooking dinner. I got a bit angry and asked her what she was doing here. She said she had no plans for the night and came to hang out with us. It really annoyed me, and I told her that I wanted to spend a quiet weekend with my husband and asked if she could come some other time. She could see I was upset and started saying that our mom was just being silly, and I needed to let it go since it was just a joke. I told her I didn't find it funny, and we got into a fight. She said that I was always an insecure, annoying kid and that no wonder no one liked me. It really hurt me, but James stepped in and told Fran that she needed to leave. I had never seen James be so forceful with Fran. Fran muttered some unpleasant things to James and then left. I was in tears by the end of the whole thing, and James was consoling me. I was really upset and spent the night in our room alone. In the morning, I prepared notes on all the things I wanted to ask James. Your comments really helped me get my thoughts straight. I know I was being very insecure, but after reading the comments, I really started questioning if James truly married me for me or if it was just because I was Fran's sister and looked like her. People called me Dollar Store Fran in high school. James and I had a long conversation, and I told him about my anxieties and insecurities. I explained how it makes me feel when he spends so much time with Fran when she visits us, and when they have their own inside jokes. I asked him if he still has feelings for her. He was calm and smiling the whole time. He told me that he would tell me the truth but didn't want me to hate him for it later. He said that he knew Fran used him all through their school days because she knew he liked her. When he went to college, Fran still tried to keep in touch with him, but putting distance between them made him realize how badly she had treated him, and he decided to just cut contact with her so he could work on himself. That was why he rarely visited us when he came for holidays and stopped being friends with Fran. I told him that it bothered me that he chose Fran before me and ignored me during our childhood. That was why I always had that doubt that I was his second choice. He said that I was 13 when he went to college and that if he had liked me instead of Fran at that age, we would be having a different problem. He told me that when I contacted him, he thought I must be like Fran and was not very enthusiastic about meeting me. However, after we hung out a few times, he realized I am nothing like Fran. We soon became close, started dating, and got married after a few years. He explained that Fran was married by then, and he saw that I always put Fran on a pedestal and would get jealous when Fran posted vacation pictures or the new, shiny things her husband bought for her. That was why he never told me he didn't like hanging around Fran. He felt that, for me, Fran was always the North Star. He told me that he has always kept his distance from Fran, and she was a non-issue since we would meet her only a few times a year. However, after her divorce, he didn't know how to act. He said he was grateful to me for uprooting our lives and moving back to our hometown for his mom's health, and he wanted to do the same for my family. When Fran got divorced, he supported her in every way he could for me, even though he realized it meant spending a lot of time with her and listening to her bring up all the memories from high school that he wanted to forget. I told him it bothered me that Fran comes to our house as often as she does, and generally in the evenings when I go to the gym. He told me that he also finds it odd that she knows my gym routine and always comes on evenings when I'm not at home. However, he assured me that he has always kept his distance from her, and if she did anything that would raise an alarm, he would have told me immediately. She just makes him watch all the old movies or TV shows they watched growing up and gossips endlessly about their high school friends. He told me I need to trust him and that if I want him to be the bad guy and ask Fran to not visit us as often, he can do that for me. However, he knows that I will eventually make up with my mom and Fran and doesn't want me to blame him for being mean to Fran. He did say, though, that he wouldn't tell Fran what to wear around the house, as it would be creepy if it came from him. I felt I got all the assurance I needed from James, and I will never doubt what an amazing husband he has been. My mom and Fran visited us on Sunday, and my mom profusely apologized to me. She told me she didn't want me to feel bad for her comment and that she would never wish anything bad on my marriage. She meant to say that James was a great guy and she hopes Fran can find someone like him one day. Fran was a bit sour but apologized to us for all the name-calling on Friday and told us it's just her hormones. She said that she likes hanging out with her sister and her best friend and hence comes to our house. I told her she is welcome to come anytime she wants, but to call ahead of time in case James and I have plans for the evening, and she agreed. I really want to move past this issue, but I do want to set some firm boundaries on when Fran can come to our house and hang out with James alone, as I know it bothers him too. Overall, I feel things are good now. I'm glad my worst fears did not come true, but I do feel I need some therapy in order to deal with my insecurities.